Magnus Macfarlane-Barrow, who is the founder and CEO of Mary's Meals. You know of it. It provides meals to some of the world's poorest kids every school day. Magnus, great to be with you again, sir.
Great to be back on. Thank you. Lovely to see you both.
Yeah, great to see you. What time is it in Scotland?
It's 3:30 in the afternoon.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you being with us once again. It's been a while since we chatted, but we're wondering if you could just give us an update on how many children you've been serving and how many countries Mary's Meals is in. We'd love to know what progress you've made.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough time, to be honest, since I last talked to you. I think in all the years we've been doing this work, I can't ever remember so many children being hungry in the world, and those numbers are growing. I can't remember so many different crises unfolding at the same time. And then, you know, our supporters around the world are being impacted by this economic situation we're in too. Despite all that, thank God, we've kept going forward. The number of children we're reaching every day has grown remarkably. I can't remember what number we were at when we last spoke last year, but today we're feeding over 2.4 million children every school day. 2,429,182 to be exact. We always like to be exact about those things because these are real children. It's not just a make-up number. So that's incredible. They're in 18 different countries, and more than ever, we feel this call to be where the suffering is greatest, where children are suffering the worst effects of acute hunger, where most children are out of school, and that's really where we've been expanding our programs.
Absolutely, and you really do focus on some of the places that are in the most need right now, and a lot of what you do, to my understanding, goes into areas where there's disaster relief needed and places that have been hit by recent natural disasters. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, it tends to happen the other way around, that we tend to respond to disasters if we're already there, we're already present. And that's happened, unfortunately, all too often of late. So, for example, we've been working in Syria, in Aleppo, for a number of years. And so that terrible earthquake impacted the schools that we were working in, and we had to adapt our work to be doing an emergency response while the schools are still closed. Same in Malawi, our biggest program, where we feed 1 million children every day. They've just experienced that terrible cyclone. Again, some of our schools have become centres for people who've lost their homes, so we're feeding the general population there. In Haiti, we continue to see terrible violence and civil unrest. So many difficult situations, but within all of that, our desire is always to get back to our core mission, which is 1 meal every day in a place of education, to keep those children in school, to give them hope for the future, because that education is just key to that, as we know.
And just so people have an idea about that core mission of yours, could you tell us about the actual cost to feed one child throughout the course of a year?
Yeah, and again, that's changed a little since we last spoke, for obvious reasons, with rising food costs, rising fuel costs across the world. We've seen our costs rise by about 20% globally, but that still means that we can feed on average child for an entire school year for $25.20. So it might have gone up a little, but it's still incredible to think that we can change a child's life for that amount. And we do see that, you know, that intervention changing lives. I'd say saving lives more than ever as well. So many of the young adults I have the privilege of meeting, who are working, who are in further education, who started businesses, they'll tell us, you know, without Mary's Meals, I never would have gone inside a school, and I might not be alive today. So in them, we see this simple thing we do what works.
That is absolutely beautiful. Maybe you could share with us and our viewers your personal experience of visiting Mary's Meals locations around the world and the effect these meals have had on the children.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Sometimes it's hard to know which experience to draw on. I mean, recently, I was in Turkana, northern Kenya, and I experienced both sides of what's going on in Mary's Meals today, because there's a terrible famine unfolding there. Many millions of people in acute hunger. The people there mainly live from their animals. They're semi-nomadic people following their herds, looking for water. And I spent one day there with this herding family. The father was called Ikai, and I went with him and his young son, Elar, 9 years old. And this was in a community that we haven't reached yet with Mary's Meals. It's one of those waiting on our list. And the little boy, Elar's dropped out of school because their animals are already dying. And he knows the priority for them is just simply trying to stay alive. So he's dropped out of school, which so often happens. And at one point, as I walked through this very arid landscape with that father and son, Ikai said to me, you know, my animals are dying now, and I know my family is going to die. I know the people are going to die as well. And that's the reality of the situation that millions and millions of people are facing today. 1 in 9 people in the world are struggling with hunger like that in this world where we grow more than enough food for all of us. You know, and then the other experience I had during that visit was one of great hope. This group of women that we met a few years ago who'd been suffering terrible poverty and terrible domestic violence, and they decided just to do something to try and change that. And they formed this cooperative where they are growing food together and going to market together. They pooled all their resources, which was $17 each, was all they had. And when we met them at that time, we said, you know, we can buy all the food that you can produce for our school feeding programs. And we made an agreement. And so we began, and we made that agreement. They would supply, I think, 4 of our schools. Today, on this visit, a few years later, they now employ 60 people. They're not just growing food; they're trading across the whole of Kenya, and they're supplying about 400 of our schools. They're this incredible example of what happens beyond the daily school meal in terms of helping people grow more of their own food, and it gives us so much hope for the future. So yeah, times are tough right now, but there are so many reasons to be hopeful too.
Absolutely incredible. Magnus, I know our viewers are all going to want to get involved if they're not already. How can they donate? How can they get involved and help your incredible mission?
We just see more than ever how many incredible things people are doing, you know, especially in the US. There's an amazing young man called Carlin who's about to run the Boston Marathon later this month to raise funds for one of our kitchens in Liberia. There's a school in Andover, Massachusetts, doing an incredible Lenten fundraiser to feed many kids. So there's all kinds of things people can do like that. Or people can just simply go to our website and choose to make a donation, like $25, 20 cents, that feeds another child for a year. Or people can just simply, if they've heard this interview and just learned about Mary's Meals, tell someone else about this mission. And please, more than anything, pray for this work. This work's a fruit of prayer. More than ever, we're completely dependent on God's providence for everything that we do. So please hold this work in prayer as well.
Well, as we approach Easter, Magnus, we keep you in prayer, and we encourage everyone watching. Just $25 can feed a child for an entire school year. Just think of it. And even more if you can be more generous at marysmealsusa.org. Magnus, happy Easter to you in advance, and God bless your work, and it's great to see you.
Thank you so much. Happy Easter to you too when it comes.